Since morning we have been having such a great discussions and a lot of great insights we are having. So continuing that tradition, we shall be now having the discussion on the Indian spirituality, mysticism, and politics. And we have got an excellent panel. We have Dr. Subhash Sharma ji, who is the director of Indus Business Academy in Bangalore, and he is a renowned author on the Indian spirituality. We have Ven Geshe Dorji Damdal. He's the director of the Tibet House and a renowned scholar on the Buddhism and spirituality. We have Dr. Tommy K. Kalrakal from the Dean in the Christ University, and he's also a renowned scholar and a lot of interest in the spirituality. And he'll be sharing on the mysticism, spirituality, and politics in age of globality. Subhash ji will be sharing from selfish gene leadership to cosmic gene leadership. Ven Geshe Damdal ji will be sharing about the universal ethics. And Dr. Jatinder Singh ji, he is the director of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is the apex chamber in India. He has very multifaceted experience in the education, the CSR, and many industry bodies, and also he's a very spiritually inclined person. So he'll be speaking about the mysticism and spirituality, union with the transcendental self. So, though we are near the lunch time, and I know some of you would be feeling hungry as well, but still our soul is also hungry, so we should also try to feed soul first, so that we know this physical body pain, all these things will anyway go away. So I'd like to share a few thoughts, though before my esteemed panel will take over, so I just like to share a few thoughts. When you talk about the Indian way of spirituality, we always think about that there is a feeling of completion and purnata right now, right here. Because whenever I go to any conference, I see that how many of you want to be happy and successful. Almost everybody raise their hand, yes, I want. So that also means that you are not happy and successful right now. And there is an endless chase. You want to do this, and then you want to be this and be that. And towards the end, then you realize all these chase was just meaningless. And then you go to grave or to the fire, whatever it is. But if we get enlightened in time, and we are able to understand who we are, in my course, we do a Who Am I workshop, whereby the student experience. Sometimes they do it here, sometimes we take them away to jungle, to Himalayas. There we do a self-exploration exercise. There they try to find out, am I this body, am I this, male or female, am I this gender, whatever, or am I something else? So that whole journey of looking within, that who I am, and then what I am up to. These are very fundamental questions in life, and which the Indian spirituality has always been on the forefront of giving so many profound answers, which are even very much relevant even at this time. So, in order to make them simple for my students, I have coined certain terms which I'm just sharing with you. One of the things is that how to know your swabhav. Swabhav means your own inner nature, because many times we see that people are just running, and sometimes the motivation factor is that they feel that there is something missing in them, so therefore they have to achieve this and achieve that. Sometimes the others also make an impact, that okay, this kind of running is required, this kind of reaching out there is very important, so they are going towards that, without realizing that they have already reached there. There is no need of running anywhere. So one of this dimension I'd like to share. And also we look at a lot of corruption in public life. There again we see that there is so much of need of accumulation. And though there is no way that you can really enjoy that accumulation, but still there is a need of more and more accumulation. And then that is leading to more and more corrupt practices. And that is spoiling, the political leaders. again, not doing the thing which they are supposed to do, and then a lot of misguided way actions and direction take place. But somebody who knows, who is spiritual in nature, who understand that I don't need any external accumulation. Whatever is needed is already given to me. So in that way, the knowledge of spirituality can play a very, very important role. Because I've seen this when I interact with, in many training programs with some bureaucrats and politicians, then I see there is a lot of hunger inside. There is a lot of, feeling of insufficiency within. And that is motivating them all the time. And so that need to be looked into. And therefore, our role as a guru, like we the academic leaders, the guru means the gu and ru. That means somebody who remove the darkness. And we also talk about the patrata. That means the being somebody who is really deserving to be a student, and somebody who is really acclaimed to be known as a guru or a teacher. But it has been seen many times that the guru who is a guru is already not self-enlightened. And that is the reason he remaining only at the level of a teacher. So the whole transaction is more at a transaction level. Like I give you this, I give you money, you give me some information. So it is more of a transaction at the avidya level. Avidya means some sort of only information, which is not making a difference in your life. While the vidya is something which is a true knowledge, a true wisdom, a true enlightenment. After that, nothing more is required to be known or pursued. So the concept of guru and who is a guru, again, has been a very on the forefront in our Indian spirituality. And it has always been seen that, the Guru Brahma, and whenever there is a matter of worshipping, where should you worship the God or the Guru, then it has been our culture to firstly worship the Guru, because the Guru will tell you that who is the God. So that is another thing I just wanted to share to your Parusar. And then Purnata perspective, that you are already Purna, you're whole and complete right now. So if you operate from that level, then you don't need to operate in a certain suboptimal way, and we should be making a big difference. We talk about sustainability, but are we also talking about sustainable mind? So the sustainability can only be practiced by those who are also having some access to the sustainability in their own mind and intellect. The Man, Chit, Buddhi, Ahankar, all these things are also very well defined in our Indian spirituality. And also 2-3 principles which are very much ingrained in our philosophy is, the tamsoma sadgamaya, astoma sadgamaya, tamsoma jyotirgamaya. And all these principles, like, take me from darkness to the light, from the untruth to the truth, and from a death to the level of immortality. And not only for yourself, but for the everyone. So in that way, you're talking about your love and affection and your care is not just available only to your family, but to the whole world, as Swamiji was mentioning in the morning about the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that as you expand your level of consciousness, then you feel the whole world is yours. Then there is no conflict, as Honorable Ambassador mentioned in the morning, that the Costa Rica is having no army. So you need not to worry. You're a fearless person. So that level of living is truly a liberated living. And when you start living that way, then you see, oh wow, how I was living earlier. But unfortunately what happens, that if somebody, suppose, has fallen in a gutter, so that person will feel very miserable initially. But if that person remain there for long enough, then all these stink and all, he will become accustomed. Then that will not bother him that much. So in the same way, many times we are also living a similar kind of a life. We have forgotten who we are. So we are just saying, oh, I am this, I need to get this, otherwise somebody else will do this politics against me. If I don't do this connection with him, then I may not be able to do this and that. We do not know that we always have a liberty to have the connection with the ultimate. which we already are. I am that, Aham Brahmasmi. All these things are already very well ingrained in our philosophy. But then we forget, and then we start playing very, very small game. And that lead to the whole cycle of fear and greed and suboptimal behavior, cutting this person and that person. So all these things, we can have a longer discussion. But since we already have a great panel with us, so we should first listen to them. And then maybe if we have time, we will again open the floor for the question and answer. But before I say that, let me just, two, three very important quotes are there which I just want to share. One quote is from Tulsi Das. Tulsi Das was a very important Indian poet who wrote very important epics including Ramayana. He used to say, तुलसी भरोसे राम के निर्भय होके सोए, अनहोनी होनी नहीं और होनी होए सो होए. So he used to, I'm translating in English, Tulsi, I am sleeping happily on the faith of God, and I know fully well whatever has to happen will happen, and no untoward thing is anyway going to happen to me. It is like the thing, when a small child girl is thrown in the air, when she is coming down, she smiles because she knows Father is there to take her. Nothing wrong is going to happen to her, so she is smiling. But if she has this doubt, I don't have the faith, if suppose my Father is able to catch me or not, then how many bones will be broken? So then she will be coming crying down there. So one thing is this, I just wanted to share. And also on many of the events we are seeing a lot of, the untoward incident, a lot of, problems are happening. I see the people are spending about 18, 20 hours in their office, ignoring their families, ignoring their own personal health and well-being, and just running and running, and feeling a lot of stress at work, and still, going ahead and managing the thing. So again, on this, there is a very important saying by Kabir. Kabir was also a very important poet from India. He belongs to rather the whole world. He said, बिन मांगे जो मिले वो दूध है, मांगे मिले वो पानी, कबीरा कहे वो रक्त है, जीमा खींचा तानी. So what he used to say, that whatever I'm getting naturally is like milk, good thing. Whatever I'm asking and getting is less valuable. At that time there was no Bisleri. You need not to pay for water. So if you are asking something and getting it, is like water. And it is like blood. If there is so much of struggle and still are into it. So again, this wisdom was very, very important for us, that whatever there is so much of struggle, you should rethink. Because once you know what is your swabhav, what is your inner nature, then you are already being shown the path, that what is your swadharma, that what is you are supposed to do, what is the seed of possibility you have. And then if you're aligned towards that in total wholeness, then the next path is shown to you. There is no need to be feeling so much of anxiety that I need to be this, then only I'll be happy. And even in a recent research by Harvard, they have mentioned that almost 47% of the energy of the people is getting wasted, either in thinking of the past or anxieties about the future. So again, it is a mind's own creation. But if we are aware, if we are living in now, then we are having a double the productivity in life. And towards the end, I want to just share one more, the last couplet, which is again in Hindi, but I will translate. It is, what is the ultimate way of bliss? It is about the one thing that once somebody went to King Akbar. Akbar was a very famous Mughal emperor in India. So once somebody went to him, and he was a good friend of king. So wife said, why don't you go and ask something from the king? So he went there and then said, where is the king? So somebody told, oh, king is praying in the mosque. So he went there. In the mosque, the King Akbar was praying, oh Khuda, you have given me this, north, yeah. Why don't you also give me the emperor of south also, and this and that. So he heard that, and then he started walking back. Then king could make out that, oh, he came, and he asked him, oh, you came? Tell me, what can I do? He said, you are already a beggar. What should I ask you? The whom you are begging, I'll anyway ask from him directly. So it is so happening many times that we also bother God for a one small thing. And it is, but there is no difference in me and any other beggar. Beggar are begging outside the temple or a church or a mosque, and we are inside of that temple or a mosque or a church. So comes to a stage when you are becoming spiritually aware, where you don't want anything for yourself, and where you feel that let me become just an instrument of the divinity, and let me see what action flows naturally through me. And at that time, you become totally desireless. So, in that, there is a small couplet, and I will close my discussion. And that says, Chah miti, chinta miti, manwa beparwah. Chah miti, chinta miti, manwa beparwah. Jinko kuch na chahiye, wo shahan ke shah. The meaning is, any kind of worry, anxiety, any undue tension, all have gone, because only that person is king of the king who does not want anything else. So in our philosophy, it has been always so. And we know that in our golden age of our Indian civilization, when our GDP was, even right now, US share in the whole GDP, is close to around 28% or something. Yeah. So our share was much higher. And at that time, our basic philosophy towards wealth was that Gaudhan, Gazdhan, Bazdhan or Ratan Dhan Khan, but jab aave Santosh Dhan, Sabdhan Dhuri Saman. That means neither the elephant nor the cow nor any other wealth, but when I am having a wealth of satisfaction, then all the remaining wealth are useless. So these something I've just shared, which are ingrained from the Indian philosophy and our Indian way of living. So now I'll be requesting, firstly, the Jatinder ji to please share his views, and then we'll go along. Thank you very much.
So, first of all, thank you, Dr. Gupta, for having me here. And after listening to many couplets from our revered, poets and leaders of spirituality, I think most of the things that I'm going to say, they have already been answered. Now, my topic is basically, this is on self-transcendence. Normally, what we feel that when we talk of mysticism, when we talk of spirituality, that's basically, we are talking of self. Now, when I'm talking that I'm in a trance state, so it's basically that I am basically, it's not for myself, it's for, the outside the world. So when we are talking of mysticism, it is nothing but it is something which is beyond the grasp of our senses. In fact, while describing this mystic word, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said once that once you are in this, state of affairs, you can talk without your tongue, you can see without your eyes, you can walk without your feet, and you can work without your hands. So in fact, in this particular state, when we are talking of mysticism, there has to be something beyond that. And in which Guru Nanak Dev Ji rightly said, there's a Punjabi, quote from Shri Guru Granth Sahib. He said, "Jab hum hote tab tu nahi, ab tu hi main nahi." The meaning is that when I am there, when it's me, then you are not with me. And retrospectively, when you are there, then I am not here. It means ultimately the essence of life is basically that we need to work for the humanity, not for ourselves. And this is where the level of self-transcendence comes, which is nothing byproduct of, you can say, self-actualization. And in fact, as a management student, we learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He tells that there are like 5 levels, starting from your basic needs, your like food, your shelter, your clothing. Then comes your security needs, that is safety needs, social needs, self-esteem, and finally self-actualization. And in fact, in all these levels of need, which is nothing but how we perform our actions, why we are going in our career, why we are working. In fact, it's nothing but the determinant of the need right now where we are. and we are working for the unmet need. And in fact, if you read this Maslow's theory in a very nuanced manner, in fact, towards the end of his life, Maslow basically said that in his model there is another level after self-actualization, and that is self-transcendence. He says that basically what happens that once you are in this highest level, or you are in this inclusive or holistic level of human spirituality, then there is an emotional connection between individual self and the other world. And once you are in this outer world, then only you can realize that my being here or my survival is basically, it's not for my success, my personal happiness, my well-being, it's basically for the other. And then only, the phrase Vasudev Kutumbakam, the word is one family, everything is bound by one another, that basically simplifies the true meaning of self-transcendence. So my point is that in this, word right now, as we know that, in fact, if you read daily newspaper, it's 90% of news are negative news, right? And in such an era, when we are talking of negativism, when we are talking of lot of governance vis-a-vis misgovernance of political parties, when we are talking of US versus North Korea, it leads to lot of gloom, despondency, and utter sort of depression in our mind. But once we are in this self-transcendent state, wherein we feel that right now, as rightly said by Dr. Pankaj Gupta also, when we feel that it's not me, basically it's the you, it's the word that I am for, then basically all these fears, all these despondencies, all this gloom, it immediately, goes off. So that's the basic difference we need to understand, that we need to go beyond spirituality, and that is basically coming in this trance state, wherein the actual happiness, wherein the acuteness of our worthy living lies, wherein, as rightly said by Dr. Gupta, our Swabhav, then we start manifesting our Swabhav, then we start realizing ourselves that what is the essence of my being in this world. So my point is that that we need to actualize the true potential of our life, and this true meaning of life, it can be discovered in this word rather than within our own psyche. So that's the most important underlying statement I want to say. And this trance feeling or this transcendent self is not about this inward orientation, but this is outward. And what I firmly believe, that once we forget, ourselves, then we basically we come out with a cause to serve the other person. Then we come to say that it's about not that we are human being. Then only the phrase being human, comes into existence. And in fact, being human, it's not just a small jargon or a phrase. It basically, it relies, or it's a testament that that's the way of life, that's the manner of life, and that should be our pursuit for our own personal happiness, success, in which we are working for others, not for ourselves. And in this particular level only, then we start actualizing ourselves. And this is, in fact, when we say about self-actualization, as I've told you, that self-actualization is basically a byproduct of transcendence. And the point is that whenever we talk of, personal success, happiness, you go anywhere in seminars or conferences, and immediately, as Dr. Gupta said, that I asked the question that how many of you want to be happy or successful? Many, people raise their hand. So the point is that when we are talking of self, in fact, in all our literature, it's all about, self-esteem, it's about self-efficacy, it's about self-development. And in fact, all this self thing makes us more selfish. And gradually, then we start coming to in this, syndrome of EGD, wherein there's lot of egocentricity, there's lot of, despondency, and there are a lot of, psychological disorders. So the point is that until unless we firmly believe that our existence in this world, our well-being is basically the well-being of the world, of this Vasudev Kutumbakam, that's the only, way by which we can actually make a very, very important, sort of description, or you can say the distinction between the level of our existence and why we should happen or why we should work in this world. And in fact, what I feel that the self-transcendence, it emphasizes that the path towards fulfillment of one's potential is not through constant self-referral, but rather serving others as a reference point. And then only we are able to fully develop our potential, because the ultimate aim is that we know, because technology has taught us about what and how of our work, of our conduct, but nobody tells about the why of us. We know that we have the best of tools, like how to, outperform our work, how to make our work easy, what to do according to our, level of our career, level of our disposable income. But why we are acting in a particular way, no literature, nobody tells us. So this why is the most important question that we need to ask every morning to ourselves, that why I'm here, why God has made me as a human being, why I'm here, in order to, whether it's about myself or it's about the community or about the society. And then only we can say that we need to spend our time and energy towards a mission that is greater than ourselves. And in fact, I will just conclude, because since I should think that nobody should talk more than 5 to 7 minutes, because there are many panelists and people must be hungry for food also. So in sum, I say that this self transcends, it offers a vision of the best possible future. It's not only for individuals but for the humanity. And the self trans, it points out that we have to redirect our focus from self interest to others in order to live the good life. So it is in basically cultivating our spiritual values and basically will to meaning and self trans, then only we can find a sense of fulfillment and significance. And in fact, the very theme of this conference is about mysticism, spirituality, and politics in this era of globality. And I am sure that if our political leaders, they understand that ultimately it's not about carving the religion out of spirituality, or making people realize that my religion is superior than other religion. It's basically understanding that since I am in that self trans phase, and in this phase I have basically to work for the humanity, for the community, for the well-being of others, rather than my own social upliftment. Because whenever we are working for others, our own personal growth, our success, it is a byproduct of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. Really appreciate. Now I'd like to invite Venkeshir Demdulji to please share his thoughts. Thank you.
It is a great joy for me to be with all of you here. And it was such a great moment for me to be invited here by my very affectionate and the one to whom I really respect a lot, Mr. Pankajji. And in the course of this, the procedure, since my first meeting with Mr. Pankajji, then Garumaji involved with this, the interaction. So it's really a great moment for us to be here. And meanwhile, the whole theme of this and how it started, meaning that when I was first having meeting with the Dr. Pankajji, so there we were having a little bit of a discussion about the secular ethics, universal ethics. So in this, then Dr. Pankajji mentioned if I could also take part in this program, and which is again about ethics. So one thing which is so unique of the OB Jindal University is that you have a separate center for ethics, spirituality, and sustainability. And of course, this program was organized, the co-host is the Jindal Institute of Behavioural Sciences. This is very important. Say in Delhi University, there's one college, Ramanujan University, Ramanujan College. They have, again, another center for ethics. This is amazing. So, say in the course of this discussion, for example, right from the morning and the inauguration, we see that people discussing about the spirituality, religion, and how the religion creates problems, and the spirituality is what is required, and so forth. So in this connection, what I may contend is that say in the early days, say like 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, say people live in isolation. So East, live in the East. Within the East, say India again split into many kingdoms, and China, again many kingdoms, and Tibet, many kingdoms, Mongolia, Korea, Vietnam, so they live more in isolation. Of course, there are some business people traveling here and there. Otherwise, they live in isolation. And they have their own religion. They have their own, say, the way of living, social living, and so forth. So from that point of view, it's okay that you have a religion is fine. You have a spirituality is fine. You have a way of living is fine. Nowadays, 20th century, 21st century, we see that this is a globalized world where everything is so homogenized, and we see that what is happening here in India can really affect the effect in the other part of the world. So from that point of view, we see that, say, the people, in fact, the people, most sensible people, they come to realize that there is a problem. There is a problem. So, by the way, how many minutes that I have? How many minutes I have? No, I have many materials. 10 minutes? Okay, 10 or 20? Okay, let's say like 10. Okay, the point is that, so there are so many problems. The fact is that there are so many religions are there are so many spiritualities are there are so many life skill teachers are there, yet the problem is equally numerous. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama, wherever he travels, one question being asked by many of the experts, experts in social sciences, experts in the medical expert, and then say the economist, educationist, environmentalist. One question which is most common is that we have the modern education, and the modern education is meant to eliminate the human problems. On the contrary, while the modern education is climbing, is going towards its height of development, but human crisis is becoming worse. So where are we going wrong? This is question. So to this, His Holiness, without any doubt, without any second thought, his answer is that this is the problem of our modern education system. We say that, okay, we have to work together. So today we come together, we don't just talk, we have to really work together, of course. But now do we have the guarantee that we're going to work? So what are those things which impede us from working? So this is another area that we need to work on. Okay, from this, His Holiness is saying that it is all because of the flaw in the modern education system. In other words, incompleteness in the modern education system. In the modern education system, which we acquired, for example, the world over, we see that it is either inherited as a legacy of Britishers or of America. So on the basis of these two nations, countries, then the modern education passed down to the whole world. So the modern education is designed in such a way, believe it or not, say a young child, if the question is asked, what is 2 plus 3? If the child says 5, you pass. If the child says 2 plus 3, even if the child has the capacity to become the second Mahatma Gandhi, but if the child says is 5-ish, you fail. So the system is designed in such a way that your heart is not counted. What is counted is your brain development is counted, and your heart development is least counted and is ignored. So this is the modern education. So how can we expect that somebody who is brought up from such a system where the emphasis is on the brain development and least emphasis on the heart development, how can we expect that this person can lead the world to make the world harmonious and a happy world? So unless this is addressed, no matter what we do, Or finally, we see that, for example, say the Swamiji this morning very clearly indicated that, say, the power, the political authority finally decides the world. So therefore, these political leaders, where do they come from? This modern education system, which is totally incomplete in nature. So unless that is rectified, we can't expect the world to be a better world. So for that matter, His Holiness says that we need to supplement this modern education. Of course, the brain development is so important. While we emphasize so much on the heart development, spirituality, if we ignore the brain development, this is also one extreme. Brain development is so important. Meanwhile, we are not ignore the heart development. For that matter, the modern education must be supplemented by what is known as the universal ethics. Ethics which, no matter what religion that you are following, whether you are following a religious belief or whether you are not following religious belief, you can be a non-believer, it doesn't matter. That there must be introduction of ethics which everybody can embrace. So that can be known as universal ethics. So now the question is how to implant this universal ethics in the modern education system. So this question, in fact, going through some of the titles of the speakers, there's one, the title which talks about the selfish gene to the cosmic gene. Very interesting topic, I think, somewhere here. Okay, so this is very interesting. We need to keep in mind that deep inside us, there is selfishness. Whether this is the intrinsic quality or that advantageous quality, that is a different matter. But there is a selfishness there. Why? While the world knows that we should be cherishing others, we should be working for others and so forth, but still the chaos, still the crisis remains. Why? So this is the question. So for that matter, there are several materials, but I may summarize everything in a point. So this is a very beautiful, the summary of what I'm going to say here. Albert Einstein, the second picture is Albert Einstein giving his Nobel address after receiving Nobel Prize. So what is said is that all these human crises is because of the selfishness, which views the self, which always thinks about the self, and creating a split between self and others, creating this split, me and others. The moment this split is created, then the attachment, being kind to us, will happen only to a very small circle, to the self, and will discard all others. So that is the cause of all the miseries of the humanity. So he put it so beautifully. So this needs to be addressed. This should not be forgotten. A human being is a part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He or she experiences himself or herself. Their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. So in other words, we have the optical delusion, seeing the split between I and you, and then cherishing the self so much and creating the aversion towards others. So this is the optical delusion. So all our measures, whatever say activism that you may go through, whatever modern education system, change modern education system that you may go through or to supplement, it must be to address this problem, to rectify this optical delusion. So it says, this delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in this beauty. Now the point is, can we do this? Can we widen the circle of cherishing from the self to others? Can we do that? Okay, unless we can think of a solution to do that, there is no way by which we can create harmony and happiness in this world. Okay, so for that matter, before this, I may go to this point. Okay, I'll go to this map of mind. So what possible solution can we think of for that matter. So this is so important. For example, say, in fact, there are the scientific research being done on the animals, on the monkeys. Okay, so the point is that, say, what drives us? Say, people go into corruption. People go into, say, the gender discrimination. People go into, say, the terrorism, and so forth. All these, say, the nasty practices. The point is, what prompted them to engage in these nasty actions? So these actions are all driven by your thought processes. The thought processes. And the thought processes, the thought process, some people like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and then say the Martin Luther King Jr., and today, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So what made these people behave very differently from what most of the people behave? This is the question. So all these actions, both sides are involved in actions, and actions are driven by the thought processes. There must be a difference in the thought process. So what kind of thought process? This is the question. So with the thought process, if we learn these 5 points, we see that then there's a possibility for rectifying how to design our modern education system, or how to supplement the modern education system to include these 5 points and to see where to rectify it. So that is very important. So for that matter, let's say if you are somebody who is so addicted to chocolates or addicted to alcohol, say first you show some object there. So the object comes in contact with your consciousness. With your consciousness, meaning somebody this morning said that consciousness, not in the sense of cosmic idea, is something empirical that you are aware of. Say your mind comes in contact with the object. The first one is contact. Then what you do is that you pay attention to the object. Number 2. After paying attention to the object, then you discrimination, that this is the chocolate, this is alcohol, this is not say Coca-Cola, this is alcohol. Then what happens? A feeling arises in you. The next is a feeling. That is so important. The feeling arises. What feeling? Very pleasant feeling arises in you. Say those who are addicted to alcohol. Then the unpleasant feeling arises, very pleasant feeling arises in you. So one cannot restrain this feeling. So this feeling then drives the person into the action. What action? Intention, intent to act, to grab at it. So likewise, corruption, terrorism, gender discrimination, male chauvinism, the thoughts. So all these things come into being on the basis of, finally is on the basis of the point number 4, the feeling. Same, when you think of the other gender, they also should be respected. When somebody says that you should respect the other gender, the females, the males, when this thought comes in you and a very pleasant feeling, yes, of course it should happen. A pleasant feeling comes in you, that will drive the person to support that. Whereas unpleasant feeling comes in you, that person will refrain from supporting that. Likewise, say terrorism. Likewise, corruption. Engage in corruption, the thought of getting corrupted, that makes a person a pleasant feeling. Okay, then I'll become rich. I will become rich. Whereas the thought of the corruption, even though I become rich, but the whole world is suffering. So when this thought, unpleasant feeling comes in the individual, when the thought of corruption comes, person will never engage in the act of corruption. Finally, the feeling decides whether the person is going to act in an ethical way or unethical way. This is so important. Now the point is how to make sure that, for example, say, okay, a very simple example, if somebody slaps you, what is your reaction? Would you smile or you'll be very angry? You'll be very angry. Why? Because when somebody slaps you, the feeling that you get is a very unpleasant feeling, and you don't want this. Whereas if somebody slaps you and you get a very pleasant feeling, you will ask for the second slap. Because, say, if somebody pats you from behind, you don't know who that person is, then are you going to become angry or you're going to be happy? You'll first look at the person. If the person is your mother, who you lost the last 10 years because of the abduction, by a terrorist, you'll be so happy. This touch is a touch of affection. Whereas if it is touched by your neighbor, a nasty neighbor, the problematic neighbor, then you will say, how dare you touch me? This is a very unpleasant touch. So touch per se doesn't decide. Touch per se does not decide, but how you think that decides. So this is all. When you see that when this touch is combined with your enemy, then a very unpleasant feeling comes. That makes you to run away from it, feel averse towards the object. Whereas the touch, when attached with the very, say, your affectionate person, a pleasant feeling comes to you. That makes you to crave for it. So this is how we need to work on rectifying this. So for that matter, it is not just the spirituality. We need to think of whether you call it spirituality, whatever. It doesn't matter. We have to think of rectifying this, where, say, to engage in the welfare of the community, then the pleasant feeling comes in you. Okay, for that matter, I'll skip all these things. Okay, here. So I will work on the first one, then I'll stop here. I could already got a message here. Okay, it says dependent origination and causation. If we know this concept so well, not knowing, conviction, and experience, 3. Knowledge, conviction, and experience, 3. If you get the conviction in number 1, 3, number 2, 3, progressively it becomes subtler. The first one, even the grossest one, if you get a deep conviction in this, no doubt, engaging that my happiness comes into being by dependence on others' happiness. My happiness comes into being by dependence on others' suffering. So therefore, if I want happiness, I should cherish others. If I don't want suffering, I should not create suffering on others. So with this conviction, then the moment you think about others, a very pleasant feeling comes in you. So that will prompt you to engage in the welfare of others. So this is what needs to be included in the modern education. Now the point is, just to relate this, the first one, dependent origination and causation, meaning that anything that comes into being necessarily by dependence on its previous causes. So in this connection, I'd like to share with you one point, and then I'll stop here. Once I was going to my personal retreat in Lahul, from Manali, and I had to cross a very high, the pass. What is that pass? Rohtang Pass. Okay, Rohtang Pass. I was passing that Rohtang Pass, right? So why I'm sharing this is to tell you how, when you know this first level, dependent origination causation, how if you know this, then everybody will become so harmonious and helpful to each other. If you don't know this, then the person will become so nasty towards others, right? So therefore, this is to be taught. Automatically, everybody becomes so helpful to each other. And all these unnecessary, the chaos problems will stop. Okay, so what happened was that on the way, I had no experience. It was my first time. And I was, somebody booked a taxi for me, a small taxi. And it was a disaster because it was a very high pass and the road was terrible. And the small taxis, if you ever think of passing Rohtang, don't take a small taxi, right? Small taxi, and suddenly almost at the top, my car got stuck. And no mechanics. Then I thought that now I'm dead. And what happened? It was miracle. You wouldn't believe that there were so many people around me that I did not even have to get out. Everyone was helping me to lift the small car and put it on the same place so that we could. I was so fascinated. Wow, this is a wonderful humanity. I got such a deep, deep faith. My faith in humanity simply grew because of that. Seeing that everybody is smiling at each other, helping, so helpful, so kind. That happened. Okay, wow, it's amazing. Otherwise, in such a remote place where no mechanics, so I would die then. And then after 1 month retreat there, coming back, again, somehow I got into a small car. So now we got stuck in another place. Just the same pass, but at the top, very top, with like 2 feet mud. The small car got stuck there. Then I thought, okay, never mind. All these people will come to help me, right? Nobody came. And it was already 6 p.m. and drizzling and terribly cold, high altitude, very cold. And for sure I was going to die. But I had no worry. Okay, people will come. Nobody came. And then we had to deliberately go there and stop the people. Finish. Stop the people there. Nobody stopped. Then I was just wondering why, when climbing, people were all so helpful. I did not ask for help. Everybody was so helpful, so kind. Because, you know the secret? Because in the first place, while climbing, we got stuck in a very narrow passage. Narrow passage means if my car got stuck, all 1,000 cars get stuck. All these thousands, the drivers, they know the first dependent origination. But dependent on the first car getting stuck there, all the cars will get stuck. Even if we kill this person, it will not help. We have to help him. Only we make him pass by easily, then our cars can easily go. So there's no point in showing anger to each other. They all smile, be very helpful, amazing. If this is how the world operates, seeing that we are all dependent on each other, right? Everybody will smile, no gender discrimination, no caste discrimination, no the corruption, no terrorism, nothing. The world will flow so smoothly, harmoniously. Okay, there's actually the video clip, but I'm not going to show this. Don't worry. Okay, there's a movie clip there, which is so touching, but if you're interested, it's about, say, some of you might have seen that already. There's one, the British gentleman who was very young, aged like 20-something, and then that was like 50 years ago. Then he was involved in rescuing 699 Jewish boys and girls, young boys and girls, and they were all rescued by him. And after 50 years, people discovered that, and he was surprised to see all these young boys and girls around him, becoming. Okay, so the point is that let us all know this dependent origination and see that Dr. Pankaj should inspire other colleges and universities to start ethics, Center for Ethics, so that the concepts can be taught. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a great, passionate talk, and really appreciate. So may I now request Dr. Subhashji to please come. आपका कोई presentation है क्या?
इसी में
हाँ?
इसी में है कहाँ गया पैनल 2
I don't know.
पैनल
Panel